Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Andy O'Fee from Crump Mortgage, the Yankee closer. And today is Tuesday, June the 19th, 2019. And here is your 2+ minute market update for this week. It's going to be a crazy day tomorrow, and today it started off just as crazy. Let's go ahead and I'll give you the first thing that came out overnight. Number one, we had the ECB and the central bank president, Mario Draghi, make comments in regards to more stimulus needed through the European Union in regards to rate cuts. Through that overnight session, we saw yields on the benchmark 10-year note almost touched 2%. It got to 203 at the open. So that was a really big move as we walked in this morning and saw yields plummet to 203. Then, just as that started to occur in the opening, the president comes out, and what does he do? Well, he sends out a tweet, once again making comments in regards to the status of negotiations with President Xi of China and how he's going to use the G20 summit next week, or in the upcoming weeks, to figure out if they can agree on a non-tariff related trade deal. When that happened, we saw yields start to move back up. The 10-year note got back up to 211. That's a huge move from 203 within a short period of time based on a tweet. Then once that came out, of course, the stock market took off. We saw stocks in the Dow Jones up almost 300 to 350 points. That's kind of where they're going to close today. We also saw the NASDAQ and the S&P rally to highs. Just a really huge move as far as stocks go. Now, what's going to happen tomorrow? If you don't know, you're going to know now. Tomorrow is the commencement of the Fed meeting. They will get out at 1 o'clock, at 1:30. The announcement will officially be made by Secretary Powell, and there will be a question and answer period immediately following that. And what the market's going to be looking for is any indication of what they're going to do going forward. Now, I don't anticipate them lowering rates tomorrow by any chance. However, there is that possibility, it does exist, which will add more to the volatility. Whatever he says going forward is going to have a significant impact on what's going to occur with yields as well as the stock market going forward. So if he makes a comment and says, hey, I think we need to raise rates more, well, that's a huge problem for stocks, and I think bonds will also get hurt. If he comes out and says, hey, we may end up cutting yields by 2 or 3 times going into the end of the year, well, that's a big news for bonds as well as a huge kicker for stocks. So what's happening right now is significant. This is a market that I have never seen before. The stock market and the bond market are completely decoupled. That means that we don't see the same thing happening when people go out of stocks, they go into bonds. It's not happening right now. We're starting to see people buy into the U.S. stock market, bonds rallying, and it's pretty incredible. And really the only rationale that I can think of is that there is tons of money pouring in from overseas where they can get yield in a secured instrument like a U.S. Treasury debt. So when you start to see yields drop and stocks rise, that's where we have an issue with the market decoupling from one another, which in a sense is great. Now, I don't foresee why the Fed would want to say, hey, the economy is slowing down, because if you look at the data, it really hasn't happened. However, the linchpin with the Fed is inflation. When inflation starts to rise, that means businesses have the ability to raise prices for products because there is that type of demand. Hey, by the way, aren't you experiencing that right now with home prices? People are willing to pay more. So actually, home prices are tied on a little bit of a train to go higher on an inflationary note. So, however, nationally, we're not seeing that. So I hope that makes sense. With no inflation, the Fed is trying to push the market into an area where companies are making more money. And if it's not happening like it has been for years now, then they're going to say, well, hey, you know what? We got to do something to upkick that inflationary number so companies are making more money with their products. Something to think about. I'll be back tomorrow. Hey, 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. Be there. I will announce what they're going to say. We'll listen to the Powell's rhetoric and see what he's going to do going forward. If you have any questions in the interim, please don't hesitate to give me a call. This is Andy O'Fee, the Yankee closer, and what a market. Have a great afternoon. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.